Did you know that just because you have a temporary stay here in Canada, either as a worker or as a student, doesn't actually guarantee your entry back into the country? Did you? Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, you're welcome. If you're an oldie, thank you so much for coming back. My name is Nneka and I upload immigration and lifestyle content right here on my channel. You're welcome and I hope you enjoyed today's video. You guys have been on my neck, like literally on my neck concerning these videos. I've been getting loads of questions like, Nneka, how were you able to travel outside of Canada without your permanent residence? How were you able to travel when you were still on your work permit? Well, in today's video, I'll be taking you guys through the process I used to guarantee my entry back into Canada, even without being a permanent resident. So what's a TRV? TRV is a temporary residence visa, also known as a visitor's visa here in Canada, and this is an official document issued by a Canadian visa office to show you have met the requirements as a temporary resident in Canada, either as a visitor, a student, or a worker. I've mentioned this in couple of my videos. When coming into Canada, right, everyone is given a visa except maybe you're coming in as a permanent resident or a Canadian citizen, right? So when you come into Canada, at your point of entry, you'll be given either a study permit or work permit depending on your situation, right? Just because you have a study permit here in Canada or you have a work permit here in Canada doesn't mean that you can actually just decide to leave the country at any given time. If you're going to come back into the country, you need an active visa to be able to come back into Canada, okay? And most people don't know this because they feel like if their work permit or if their study permit hasn't expired yet, they can just leave the country at any time and come in at any time. But that's not the case. You actually need to apply for temporary residence visa or visitor's visa before you're allowed entry back into the country. It's a visa that is stamped on your passport that guarantees your entry back into Canada. I'm going to be dividing this video into 4 parts. The first part is going to be my personal experience. The second part is going to be the documents that you would need to apply for your temporary residence visa. The third part is going to be the application process time. How long did it take for me to get my TRV? And the fourth part is going to be the tips and lessons I learned during this process. So now my personal experience. When I was coming into Canada, of course, I applied for my visa. I've spoken about that in so many videos. I have like really in-depth videos on my process on how I got my visa here in Canada. So when I was coming to Canada, at my point of entry, which was the Toronto Pearson Airport, I was given my study permit. And my study permit was going to last for just 1 year because I applied for a 1-year program, right? My visa too was also for 1 year because I was going to just take a 1-year program. But most likely, if you're to come into Canada to study for 2 years, you'll be given a 2 years visa and vice versa, right? There's a difference between a study permit and a visitor's visa. Your visitor's visa is stamped on your passport, just like most visas in the world, while your study permit is going to be printed and given to you at the airport. But your visa is not given to you at the airport. Your visa is given to you by your visa officer during your visa process, okay? So after I got my study permit and all of that, because I wanted to be eligible for the 3 years PGWP, I had to take another program because I've spoken about this in so many videos, guys, so many. So I'll be leaving links as we go on in today's video, okay? I needed to take a second program. 2 years of study equals 3 years PGWP and 1 year of study equals 1 year PGWP, okay? So since my study permit was just for 1 year and I wanted to take a second program, right? I had to go through something known as the study permit extension process. I've done a video about this. I'll link it up here as well. Bearing in mind, my visa was just for 1 year. So during this whole process, my TRV expired. So since my TRV expired, I could stay in Canada because of my study permit, but that study permit did not grant me entry back into the country because my visa was already expired, okay? I was not really bothered about this because I was legally staying in Canada and I knew that I was not going to leave Canada anytime soon during my study process. So after my year of schooling, I was done my second program and everything was done. I now applied for my work permit. I've made a video about my process and how it went. I'll leave a link here, right here, just so you can catch up. I was granted the 3 years postgraduate work permit. But if you feel that you're not going to be traveling outside of Canada anytime soon, you don't need to apply for a visitor's visa or a TRV, okay? During this whole process, I now knew that, oh no, it's actually time to go home to visit my family. I actually got so many questions about what I want to say right now. So many people asked me, like, was I outside of the country when I applied for my PR and everything? I applied for my PR in Canada, but I left Canada when it was processing, okay? That's just by the way, I digress. So back to my TRV journey. So because I knew that I was going to go back to Nigeria, I applied for my temporary residence visa. It's going to be given to you with the duration of your PGWP. My PGWP was for 3 years, right? So I was granted a temporary residence visa for 3 years. I knew that I was going to leave Canada, so I wanted to make sure that I was going to be able to come back into the country whenever I wanted to. But right now, because I'm a permanent resident of Canada, I can decide to leave and come in at any time. So if you're a permanent resident or if you're a Canadian citizen, you can just decide to go and sleep in the ocean and come back the next day if you want. So only students, workers and visitors need to actually keep this into consideration if they decide to leave Canada, because without it they won't be able to come back into Canada, okay? So the process goes like this: TRV, study permit extension, PGWP, TRV, then permanent residence. That's how my process went during this whole thing, okay? One thing you guys also have to know is that when you're applying for different things here in Canada, if you're applying for a study permit, your application number will start with an S. If you're applying for a work permit, your application number will start with a W. If you're applying for your PR, permanent residence, your application number will start with an E. But if you're applying for a visitor's visa, your application number will start with a V. The second part of this video is documents I needed to apply for my TRV. Applying for TRV, in my own opinion, is a bit more laid back compared to applying for a study permit extension. Maybe because they don't ask for a bank statement when you're applying for your TRV. Applying for your TRV, you would need your passport, you would need your work permit or your study permit. In my case, I used my work permit because I was on my work permit at that time. But if I had applied when I was in school or during my process of schooling, I would have used my study permit. You would also need a passport photograph. You would also need a medical examination, but this is not for everyone. You'd only need a medical exam if you have close contact to people who are vulnerable or who are of high risk, right? And most times these are like medical personnel. So if you're a nurse, if you're a doctor, you know, things like that, right? They also state that you need a medical exam if you work in a farm. So those are the only two reasons on the CIC website that indicate if you would need a medical exam or not. The next document you will need is the application for visitor's visa form. This form might take you like 20 to 40 minutes to fill. There are some things I really could not understand while filming this form. So there's a particular video I used here on YouTube. I'll link it in the description just in case you want to fill this form and you need assistance. The guy went in detail, like he really went in depth on how to fill this particular form, okay? So you can always check it out whenever you want to. The last thing you will need is money. As of today, being March 16th, 2022, it costs 100 Canadian dollars to apply for your visitor's visa or TRV here in Canada. The third part of this video, which is the processing time, I want to give you guys the official time it says on the CIC website that it will take to apply for your TRV, just so that you have an idea on when to start your process, okay? So I'm going to be going to the CIC website right now and I'm going to be checking processing times. We are applying for the temporary residence visa, visiting, study and working. So this is what we're going for. We're going to be applying from inside Canada, right? So that's what we're going to go for. And it says here on the CIC website that it takes 17 days online and also takes 17 days on paper, but that wasn't my case. In relation to my personal experience, I'm going to be allocating dates to specific events during my TRV process. So I'm going to be referring to the CIC website because that's the website you're going to use if you're going to apply for your temporary residence visa here in Canada or even outside Canada in general, okay? I applied for my visitor's visa on March 9th of 2021. They also sent me like a submission confirmation. So after after you apply for your TRV or your visitor's visa, for you to know that you successfully submitted your application, an email will be sent to your portal or to your email. On August 9th of 2021, CIC sent me an email. That email, they titled it as an original passport request, and I sent my passport on August 10th. It took exactly 5 months before they asked for my passport. Then August 18th, I also got my final decision, but that August 18th was not the exact day I got my passport back. August 18th was just the day that I knew that the passport was stamped and they updated my profile on the CIC website. Okay, I think it took about 3 to 4 business days before I could now get my passport. So approximately this whole process for me personally took 5 to 6 months. Then COVID-19 second variant just came out, so there was just a whole lot going on in the country at that time, or in the world at that time, right? So things were a bit slow because of the pandemic and because of the current situations we were in. Okay, everyone's case is different, but I know other people's own that have taken less or even taken more depending on the situation. So now the last part of this video is the tips I learned during my process. The first thing is be proactive, just start early. My PGWP was granted to me ending of January last year. Then March, I applied for my TRV. So I didn't even wait long. Immediately after 2 months, I just applied for my TRV. And that TRV, I was going to use it for December. I was very, very proactive with my whole process. The second tip I have is the expiry date of your passport affects everything. The expiry date of your passport affects your work permit, which in turn will affect your TRV. It doesn't really make sense to maybe your passport is going to expire in 1 year and they'll give you a TRV that is going to expire in 2 years. It doesn't really make sense, because after that 1 year is done, you will not even be able to use that passport again, right? So if you're going to apply for a TRV, just make sure that your passport is up to date, because I know that it can be very easy for people to miss this. Okay guys, so that's it for today's video. I hope you learned a thing or two, but just in case you have any further questions about TRV or about anything in general, please leave them in the comment section below and I'll get to them as soon as possible. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also turn on the post notifications so you can get notified every single time I upload a new video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye guys. Bye.